Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namya Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadini Vishesh Shunyavadi Paschadya Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna dear devotees, thank you for joining. So we have started chapter 26, Canto 4 last week. And for now, we have just covered 5 to 6 verses where we saw a description of Puranjana going to forest. So let's recap. So as of now, we have seen in the last chapter that Narada Muni started narrating an allegorical story to Prachina Bharisat as an example of Puranjana and Puranjini. So he said that there was a king called Puranjana and he was searching for a place for satisfying his desire, and after he was a bit morose to not find a nice place for him, he roamed around again and again. Finally he reached to Bharatavarsha, and then he entered a city with nine gates. Then he gradually met one lady called Puranjini. She was very beautiful, and he was captivated by the beauty of Puranjini. Eventually Puranjini was also captivated by the strength and strong of the King Puranjana. And at the end of the chapter we saw they both got married. So the analogy was Puranjana is the living entity Jiva, and coming around to many of this life cycle, he enters to the body of nine gates. And then with this Puranjini is the intelligence or material intelligence. They try to enjoy the sense gratification. And now while they were living happily, what happens that Puranjana, he goes to forest to hunt, and his queens become angry. So this is the chapter 26. So there we discussed about when Puranjana goes to hunt on his chariot. We saw the analogy of a jiva in this material world, and the verse started stating that Puranjana he drove a chariot, he got some bow, he got his quiver, he got 2 explosive arrows, 5 arrows, 5 horses, 2 wheels, right? So that we saw the whole analogy of let me pull out, if it's possible, the image which I shared. Yeah, okay. Let me share this. I think this is the image which I shared in our WhatsApp group earlier. Yeah, so here I think you can see my screen.
Yes,
with the
Prabhu.
image. Yeah, thank you. So here we saw that this King Puranjana, he went to in a chariot, right? And the chariot is actually the body. Then he got bow, and then he got quiver with unlimited arrows, basically desires, infinite material desires. Then he got 2 explosive arrows, which is our ego and our positiveness. And then he got 5 arrows, the 5 activities of Gyanendriyas, or then he got 5 horses. These are karma indriya, they are basically attracted by the senses. And then we got the 2 wheels Two wheels represent the sinful and pious activities. Yeah, and then you got revolving axle in between of the wheels is called our pradhana, and then it got three flags, and the three flags represent three modes. Then it got rein, by which he's holding the horses. It represents the mind. Then the driver is the intelligence or the buddhi, and the sitting place is the heart, and two poles to which the harness is fixed, the lamentation and illusion. Yeah, here are the two poles is. And then the seven coverings of the body, like the skin, muscle, fat, others, and then others. I think this all we discussed in the last week by reading these few verses. Yeah, so let us continue from there to continue from text number 6. Okay, let us see text 6. तीर्थेषु प्रतिदृष्टेषु राजा मेध्यान् पशून् वने यावद् अर्थम् अलं लुब्धो हन्यात् इति नियम्यते. Yes, Janmataji.
Sorry. If the king is too attracted to eating flesh, he may, according to the directions of the revealed scriptures on sacrificial performances, go to the forest and kill some animals that are recommended for killing. One is not allowed to kill animals unnecessarily or without restrictions. The Vedas regulate animal killing to stop the extravagance of foolish men influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So this king was too much attracted for eating flesh, So why? Just recall the point of Narad Muni addressing this story. Is because the king Prachina Bharisat, he was doing more of sacrifices when by killing animals, right, on the sacrifice. That's why he says, that king Puranjana was attracted to eating flesh. So because of that, maybe he went to the forest and killed some animals. So this analogy he is giving. However, let's read the purport. Here it is mentioned that one is not allowed to kill animals unnecessarily or without restrictions. The kings, they were allowed to go and hunt or kill animals. The reason was not for the killing purpose. The purpose was that because they had to practice this art of fightings, right? And that's why they had to do it, but not for their own sense gratification. Yeah, let us read it. The question may be raised why a living being should be restricted in sense gratification. If a king, to learn how to kill, may go to the forest and kill animals, and why should a living entity who has been given senses not being allowed who has been given senses not be allowed unrestricted sense gratification? At the present moment, this argument is put forward even by so-called swamis and yogis who publicly say that because we have senses, we must satisfy them by sense gratification. These foolish swamis and yogis, however, do not know the injunctions of the Shastras. Indeed, sometimes these rascals come out to defy the Shastras. They even publicly announce that there should not be no more Shastra, no more books. Just come to me, they say, and I shall touch you, and you will become immediately spiritually advanced. Because demonic people want to be cheated, so many cheaters are present to cheat them. At the present moment, in this age of Kali Yuga, the entire human society has become an assembly of cheaters and cheated. For this reason, the Vedic scriptures have given us the proper directions for sense gratification. Everyone is inclined in this age to eat meat and fish, drink liquor, and indulge in sex life. But according to the Vedic injunction, sex is allowed only in marriage. Meat eating is allowed only when the animal is killed and offered before the goddesses Kali. And intoxication is allowed only in a restricted way. In these words, the word niyam yate indicates that all these things, namely animal killing, intoxication, and sex, should be regulated. Regulations are meant for human beings, not for animals. Yeah, the traffic regulations on the streets telling people to keep on the right or the left are meant for human beings, not for animals. If an animal violates such a law, he is never punished, but a human being is punished. The Vedas are not meant for animals, but for the understanding of human society. A person who indiscriminately violates the rules and regulations given by the Vedas is liable to be punished. One should therefore not enjoy his senses according to his lusty desires, but should restrict himself according to the regulative principles given in the Vedas. If a king is allowed to hunt in the forest, it is not for his sense gratification. We cannot simply experiment in the art of killing. If a king, being afraid to meet rogues and thieves, kills poor animals and eat their flesh comfortably at home, he must lose his position. Yeah. So this is not for his sense gratification. Because in this age kings have such demonic propensities, monarchy is abolished by the laws of nature in every country. People have become so degraded in this age that on the one hand they restrict polygamy, and on the other hand they hunt for women in so many ways. Many businesses concerns publicly advertise that topless girls are available in this club or in that shop. Thus women have become instrument for sense enjoyment in modern society. The Vedas enjoins, however, that if a man has a propensity to enjoy more than one wife, as is sometimes the propensity for men in the higher social order, such as Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, and even sometimes the Shudras, he is allowed to marry more than one wife. Marriage means taking complete charge of a woman and living peacefully without debauchery. At the present moment, however, debauchery is unrestricted. Nonetheless, society makes a law that one should not marry more than one wife. This is typical of a demonic society. Yeah. So the point is that here the example is saying that this king Puranjana, he went for sense gratification, basically in the forest now, killing animals. So let us see how it shows. So the point is, in the scriptures, animal killing is not being appreciated, and if it is, it must be restricted. Yeah. Okay. Text 7. य एवं कर्म नियतं विद्वान् कुविता मानव कर्मणा तेन राजेन्द्र ज्ञानेन न शलिप्यते. Yeah. Kishori Prabhu.
Hey Krishna. Narada Muni continued to speak to King Prachina Barhit. My dear king, any person who works according to the directions of Vedic scriptures doesn't become involved in fruitive activities. Hey Krishna.
Yeah, very important. Any person who works according to the direction of Vedic scriptures does not become involved in repetitive activity. So indirectly he's coming back to the point. Yeah. So such as a government may issue trade license in order for its citizens to act in a certain way. The Vedas contain injunctions that restrain and regulate all of our fruitive activities. The living entities have come into this material world to enjoy themselves. Consequently, The Vedas are given to regulate sense enjoyment. One who enjoys his senses under the Vedic regulative principles does not become entangled in the actions and reactions of his activities. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.9, Yajna That Karmana Vanatra, in that verse, Lokoyam Kanu Bandhanat. So one should act only for the performance of yajna or to satisfy the Lord Vishnu. Anyatra loko yam karma bandhanat. So otherwise, any action will produce reactions by which the living entity will be bound. A human being is specially meant to attain liberation from the bondage of birth, death, old age, and disease. He is furthermore directed by the Vedic regulative principles to work in such a way that he may fulfill his desires for sense gratification and at the same time gradually become freed from mental bondage. So action according to such principles is called knowledge, right? What is the knowledge? The knowledge is basically using the knowledge to become gradually free from mental bondage. Is that the real knowledge? Yeah. Otherwise, what the use of the knowledge if it's going to just bind us in this metal world? Indeed, the word Veda means knowledge, and the words Jnanena na salipyate indicate that by following the Vedic principles, one does not become involved in the actions and reactions of his Buddha activities. Yeah. Everyone is therefore advised to act in terms of Vedic injunctions and not irresponsibly. When a person within a state acts according to the laws and license of the government, he does not become involved in criminal activities. Man-made laws, however, are always defective because they are made by men who are prone to commit mistakes, being illusion, cheating, and having imperfect senses. So these are the four defects of living entity or human being. We are prone to make mistakes. We are being illusioned. We are cheated, and we have the cheating propensities, and our senses are imperfect. So the Vedic instructions are different because they do not have these four defects, and the Vedic instructions, they don't have these four defects. So Vedic instructions are not subject to mistakes, and the knowledge of the Vedas is knowledge received directly from the God, and there is consequently no question of illusion, cheating, mistakes, and imperfect senses. Yeah. Rupas quotes the first verse of Bhagavatam. He says, Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavi. He says that, Lord Krishna, he gives this knowledge into the heart of Adikavi, or Lord Brahma. He gives the knowledge of whole creation, everything beyond material world and also of the spiritual world. And then Lord Brahma expanded it more in that, in the four Vedas. And then Vyasadeva, make the pile of four different Vedas from the scripture itself. And then his followers continued more in that, in a parampara way. Yeah. Okay. Let's see text 8. What happens? So basically this 7th verse, it says that we should follow the Vedic scriptures and do not become involved in these fruit activities. And what the next verse says, let's see. Anyatha karma kurvano mana rudho nivadhyate guna prabhava patito nasta pragyo vrajate adha. Yes, Urmila Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Otherwise, a person who acts physically falls down due to false prestige. Thus, he becomes involved in the law of nature, which are composed of the three qualities goodness, passion, and ignorance. In this way, a living entity becomes devoid of his real intelligence and becomes perpetually lost in the cycle of birth and death. Thus, he goes up and down from a micro microbe in stool to a high position in Brahmaloka planet. Krishna.
Yeah. So what happens when someone doesn't follow the scriptures that this word says? Yeah. So there are many important words in this verse. The first word is anyatha, means otherwise, which indicate that one who does not care for the Vedic rules and regulations. And the rules and regulations laid down in the Vedas are called Shastra Vidhi. Like Bhagavad Gita clearly states that one who does not accept the Shastra Vidhi or rules and regulations mentioned in the Vedic scriptures and act whimsically or popped off with a false pride never attains perfection in this life, nor does he attain happiness or liberation from the material condition. Yeah. So this is the verse Prabhupada's quoting. यह शास्त्र विधिम उत्सर्ज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिम आपनोति न सुखम न पराम गतिम. Yeah, not just siddhim, he doesn't get any liberation, neither he get any sukha, any happiness, right? So he who discards scriptural injunctions and act according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. 1623 Bhagavad Gita. So thus, one who is deliberately transgressing the rules and regulations of the Shastras is simply involving himself more and more in material existence in the three modes of material nature. Human society should therefore follow the Vedic principles of life, which are summarized in the Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, in the material existence, life in material existence will continue. Yeah. So 8.4 million species of life, continuous birth and death, carry on. And Prabhupada again quotes 15.7. He says, Mamayavanse jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manasashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karchati. The living entity in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental part. So we are Krishna's fragmental parts. And due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with six senses, which include mind, the mind and the five other senses. Yeah. And every living entity is a part and parcel of the God. There is no reason for the living entities being put into the miserable threefold condition of material existence, but that he voluntarily accepts material existence on the false pretext of becoming the enjoyer. Yeah, Prabhupada says, Krishna boli sei jiva anadi bahirmukha atayeva maya tare dehe samsara dukkha. How we get the miseries? He says, by forgetting Krishna, the living entity has become materialistic since time immemorial. Therefore, the illusory energy of Krishna is giving him different types of miseries in material existence. Yeah. So Maya Mugdha Jivera Nahi Swatah Krishna Gyan. Jivera Kripaya Kaila Krishna Ved Puran. So when the living entity is enchanted by by external energy, he cannot revive his original Krishna consciousness independently. And due to such circumstances, Krishna has kindly given him the Vedic literature such as the 4 Vedas and 18 Puranas. And Vyasadeva actually, being compassionate to all of us, he wrote everything to us, because in the previous yugas, they do not need any scriptures to read. They used to hear and then they remember everything and they follow it. But in today's world, we forget again and again. Yeah, so that's why we need instructions, and Vyasadeva wrote all the instructions for all of us. Okay, well, let us see text 9. So we saw text 7, text 8 as one should follow scriptures, and what happens if we don't follow the scriptures. Text 9. Tatra nirbhinna gatranam चित्रवाजैशिलेर्मुखै विप्लवो भूदुःखितानां दुःसह करुणात्मनाम्. Yes, Rupesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
When King Puranjana was hunting in this way, many animals within the forest lost their lives with great pain, being pierced by the sharp arrowheads. Upon seeing these devastating, ghastly activities performed by the king, all the people who were merciful by nature became very unhappy. Such merciful persons should not tolerate seeing all this killing.
Yeah, so King Puranjana entering into the forest, he started killing so many animals with his sharp arrows. And then these animals, they were not very happy with that. Yeah. So let us see what Prabhupada explains this point here. When demonic person engage in animal killing, the demigods or devotees of the Lord are very much afflicted by this killing. Demonic civilization in this modern age maintain various types of slaughterhouses all over the world. And rascals, swamis and yogis encourage foolish persons to go on eating flesh and killing animals, and at the same time continue their so-called meditation and mystical practices. All these affairs are ghastly, and a compassionate person, namely a devotee of the Lord, becomes very unhappy to see such a sight. The hunting process is also carried on in a different way. As we have already explained, hunting women, drinking different types of liquor, becoming intoxicated, killing animals, and enjoying sex all serve as the basis of modern civilization. And Vaishnavas are unhappy to see such a situation in this world, and therefore they are very much busy spreading this Krishna conscious movement. The devotees are pained to see the hunting and killing of animals in the forest, the wholesale slaughter of animals in slaughterhouses, and the exploitation of young girls in brothels that functions under different names such as clubs and societies. Being very much compassionate upon the killing of animals in sacrifice, the great sage Narada began his instructions to King Prachin Bharisa. In these instructions, Narada Muni explained that devotees like him are very much afflicted by all the killing that goes on in human society. Not only are saintly persons afflicted by this killing, but even God himself is afflicted and therefore comes down in the incarnation of Lord Buddha. Jayadeva Goswami therefore sings, Sadaya Hridaya Drashtita Pashu Ghatam. Simply to stop the killing of animals, Lord Buddha compassionately appeared. Some rascals put forward a theory that an animal has no soul or is something like dead stone. In this way, they rationalize that there is no sin in animal killing. Actually, animals are not dead stone, but the killers of animals are stone-hearted. Consequently, no reason or philosophy appeals to them. So they continue keeping slaughterhouses and killing animals in the forest. The conclusion is that one who does not care for the instructions of saintly persons like Narada and a disabling succession surely falls in the category of Nasta Pragya and thus goes to hell. Yeah. So the point is that by seeing the engagement of Prachina Bodhisattva into fruitive activities or fruitive sacrificial performances of killing animals, Narada Muni, being compassionate, he came to advise him the next or next or best step to do, right? Okay, so let's see the text 10. शशान्वराहान् महिषां गवयान् रुरुशल्ककान् मेधयान् अन्यांश विविधान् विनिघन् श्रामम् अधगात्. Yes, Jan Mataji or Kayal Mataji, sorry.
Hare Krishna. In this way, Puranjana killed many animals, including rabbits, boar, buffalo, bison, black bear, porcupines, and other game animals. After killing and killing, the king became very tired. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So let us see how many. I mean, King Puranjana in the forest is killing so many things. Let's see. A person in the mode of ignorance commits many sinful activities. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami explains that a man becomes sinful out of ignorance only. And the resultant effect of sinful life is suffering. Those who are not in knowledge, who commit violations of the standard laws, are subject to be punished under criminal laws. Similarly, the laws of nature are very stringent. If a child touches fire without knowing the effect, he must be burned, even though he is only a child. If a child violates the law of nature, there is no compassion. Only through ignorance does a person violate the laws of nature, and when he comes to knowledge, he does not commit any more sinful acts. Yes, knowledge is very, very much required. The king became tired after killing so many animals, and when a man comes in contact with a saintly person, he becomes aware of the stringent laws of nature and thus becomes a religious person. Irreligious persons are like animals, but in this Krishna consciousness movement, such persons can come to a sense of understanding things as they are and abandon the four principles of prohibited activities, namely illicit sex life, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. This is the beginning of religious life. Those who are so-called religious and indulge in these four principles of prohibited activities are pseudo-religious. Yeah. So religious life and sinful activity cannot parallel one another. If one is serious in accepting religious life or a path of salvation, he must adhere to the four basic rules and regulations. However sinful a man may be, if he receives knowledge from a proper spiritual master and repent his past activities in his sinful life and stops them, he immediately becomes eligible to return home back to Godhead. So, isn't it so powerful? Just by accepting spiritual master and following instructions, actually someone can go back to Godhead. Yeah. So, like Krishna says, tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So, accepting spiritual master, getting guidance from him, taking his instructions, and following the rules and regulations, actually one can go back to Godhead. At present, the whole world is on the verge of retiring from a blind materialistic civilization, which may be likened to hunting animals in the forest. People should take advantage of this Krishna consciousness movement and leave their troublesome life of killing. It is said that the killers of animals should neither live nor die. If they live only to kill animals and enjoy women, life is not very prosperous. And as soon as a killer dies, he enters the cycle of birth and death in the lower species of life. So that is also not desirable. So the conclusion is that killers should retire from the killing business and take to Krishna consciousness movement and make their life perfect. A confused, frustrated man cannot get relief by committing suicide because Suicide will simply lead him to take birth in a lower species of life or remain a ghost, unable to attain a gross material body. Yeah, so that it is. That's true, isn't it? Okay, let us see next text 36 verse. What happens now after? So till now, what we have seen is Puranjana actually went to forest and he hunts so many animals. Now he is actually coming back home. ततः क्षुत्रपरिश्रान्तो निवृत्तो ग्रहण यैवान् कृतस्नानोचित्तार्हर संविशेषो गतः क्लमः. Yes, Jain Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. After this, the king, very much fatigued, hungry and thirsty, returned to his royal palace. After returning, he took a bath and had an appropriate dinner. Then he took rest and thus became freed from all restlessness.
Yeah. So maybe his days was exhausted, right? He's more fatigued, hungry, thirsty. Okay. So a materialistic person works throughout the whole week very, very hard. He's always asking, where is money? Where is money? And then at the end of the week, he wants to retire from these activities and go to some secluded place to rest. King Puranjan returned to his home because he was very much fatigued and from hunting animals in the forest. In this way, his conscience come to stop him from committing further sinful activities and make him return home. In the Bhagavad Gita, materialistic persons are described as Duskritina, which indicates those who are always engaged in sinful activities. When a person comes to his senses and understands how he is engaging in sinful activities, he returns to his conscience, which is herein figuratively described as the palace. Generally, a materialistic person is infected by material modes of passion and ignorance. The results of passion and ignorance are lust and greed. In the life of materialistic activities means working in lust and greed. However, when he comes to his senses, he wants to retire. According to the Vedic civilization, such retirement is positively recommended. And this portion of life is called Vanaprastha. Retirement is absolutely necessary for a materialistic who wants to become free from activities of sinful life. Yeah. So King Puranjana coming home, taking bath, and having an appropriate dinner indicates that a materialistic person must retire from sinful activities, become purified by accepting a spiritual master, and hearing from him about the values of life. Wow. Very nice explanation of just one line by Prabhupada here. What does this whole verse means? Coming home, taking shower, and having a dinner is retiring from sinful activities. Taking shower means being purified by accepting spiritual teacher, and dinner probably hearing Krishna Katha, hear from the ear, right? Like food for the soul is by hearing itself. If one would do this, he would feel completely refreshed, just as one feels after taking a bath. After receiving initiation from a bona fide spiritual master, one must abandon all kinds of sinful activities, namely illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating. The word uchitara used in this verse is important. Uchita means appropriate and ahara, and one must eat appropriately and not take after food as hogs take after stool. For a human being, there are tables described in Bhagavad Gita 17.8 as sattvic ahara, or food in the mode of goodness. One should not indulge in eating food in the mode of passion or ignorance. This is called uchita ahara, or appropriate eating. One who is always eating meat or drinking liquor, who is eating and drinking in passion and ignorance, must give these things up so that his real consciousness may be awakened. In this way, one may become peaceful and refreshed. If one is restless and fatigued, one cannot understand the science of God. Yeah. Srimad Bhagavatam 1-20. Evam prasanno manasao. Right? Bhagavad Bhakti Yogata. Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sanga Sujayate. Unless one becomes free from the influence of passion and ignorance, he cannot be pacified, and without being pacified, one cannot understand the science of God. And King Puranjana's returning home is indicative of man's returning to his original consciousness. Yeah. Known as Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is absolutely necessary for one who has committed a lot of sinful activities, especially killing animals and hunting in the forest. Yeah. Okay, let us see the next verse as well. Text 12. So now what happened? Puranjana, he came back from home. Came back to home from the forest. Atmanam arayam chakre dhupale peshwar avidhi adibhi shadava alankrita sarvango mahishyam adate mana. Kashari Prabhu.
After this, King Puranjana decorated his body with suitable ornaments. He also smeared scented sandalwood, pulp over his body and put on flower garlands. In this way, he became completely refreshed. After this, he began to search out his queen. Hare Krishna.
Now, so he came back home. He was hungry, he was thirsty. He took bath and then he took some dinner. So that is means he spiritual significance is coming back to our real consciousness, taking giving up simple activities and taking off Krishna consciousness, accepting spiritual teacher, hearing Krishna Katha. Yeah, and now let's see what this story goes more. So when a man comes into good consciousness and accepts a saintly person as a spiritual master, he hears many Vedic instructions in the form of philosophy, stories, narrations about great devotees, and transactions between the God and his devotees. In this way, a man becomes refreshed in mind, exactly like a person who smears scented sandalwood pulp all over his body and decorates himself with ornaments. These decorations may be compared to the knowledge of religion and the self. Right? So food was hearing and ornaments is now compared to the knowledge of religion and the self, understanding my dharma and my own self. Through such knowledge, one becomes detached from the materialistic way of life and engages himself in always hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and other Vedic literatures. The word sadhava alankrita used in this verse indicates that one must be absorbed in knowledge gathered from the instructions of saintly persons. Just as King Puranjana began to search out his better half, the queen, one who is decorated with knowledge and instructions from saintly person should try to search out his original consciousness, Krishna consciousness. One cannot return to Krishna consciousness unless he is favored by the instructions of a saintly person. Therefore, Srila Narottam Das Thakur sings, Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya Chittete Koriya Eka. If you want to become saintly persons, or if you want to return to our original Krishna consciousness, we must associate with sadhu, saintly person, shastra, authoritative Vedic literature, and a guru, a bona fide spiritual teacher or master. This is the process. Beautiful. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I think we have no time today, but any questions? Maybe we can discuss tomorrow if we have any questions from here. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.